All right, we're talking about the state test. Yes, I said it. There you go. State test. I know, I know. It's coming up and it's long and it takes forever and it feels like you're just gonna die, but you're not, okay? You're not gonna die. Nobody's gonna die taking this test. You guys are gonna be okay. All right? Just want to get that out of the way first. I know I gave you a little pep talk last week. It's long. Okay, just prepare yourself for sitting for hours and doing this. I'm serious. It's going to take a long time. Kaden?
Um, what if I time travel and before the or after the test so I don't have to take it?
Yeah, if you figure that out, let us know because I would definitely get on that with you. So, but anyway, every student between third and 12th grade has to take this test, and I'm just going to help you prepare for the writing part. There's two parts to the language arts part of the test. Um, There's the reading and comprehension, but the good news is you'll be reading the articles and answering questions about the articles. And then the part two is the same articles you're gonna then type out answers for too. Okay. So just so you know, some of the questions are going to be short answer, where it's just like one or two sentences. Some of them might be a whole paragraph, and you will be required to write an essay. And the essay needs to be 5 paragraphs long. Yes, I said it. 5 paragraphs. I know you guys have done that a couple, like maybe a couple of times, but you got this. It just is basically your three body paragraphs and your introduction and conclusion. So you got this. I am going to walk through how to do one of the styles of the essay. Okay, I see hands. Go ahead, Tyler.
One of the most trickiest parts about doing the 5 paragraph essay essay for this test is that like you can't do it on any topic. You have to do it on what they give you.
Yeah. You have to do it on what they give you, and hopefully it's something you're interested in. I mean, they try to make it that way, but you never know what you're going to get. That's true. And Kaden?
Last year I did a topic on Mars, but
Oh,
I didn't know if I was supposed to do like more than a few paragraphs. But or like I don't remember at least if I was supposed to do a few paragraphs.
that's okay. I mean, it says multi-paragraph. I just know for this grade, for the grade that you guys are in now, you do need to make it 5 paragraphs. But don't let that scare you because you guys know how to do it. Remember back when you didn't know the keyword outline and you had to write 5 paragraphs and it was like, I don't even know where to start. You write like two sentences and you're like, that's it. That's all I got. I don't know what else to say. But now you know how to set it up so that you're going to do fine. You really will. These are the different styles of essays that you might have. I know some of you are in 6th grade, so I'm just going to kind of go through all of these. It could be an opinion essay. An opinion essay is when you have an opinion about something. For instance, cats are better than dogs, or dogs are better than cats. It's an opinion. It doesn't mean that you back it up with scientific evidence. It just means your experience, right? You might have something to write about that's your opinion about something. By the way, this I'm going to put on your Google Classroom. So you don't have this paper in front of you, so you don't need to look for it. It's okay. I have it right here. So you could just look at this one. I'm going to attach it though to your Google homework so you can look at it at home with your parent too. The next example is the informative explanatory essays. This is what you're mostly used to writing about something factual with evidence and with actual articles with facts. Um, Explanatory, you see the word explain in there. So you're basically explaining about something, an actual thing, like an actual animal or a planet or something scientific or a person. You're writing facts about that. A narrative essay is more made up. That's creative. That's when you use the story sequence chart. You guys remember that, where you have like characters and setting, then you talk about the conflict and the problem in the middle, and then you talk about the resolution and the climax at the end, and it's three main parts. And then you would add an introduction and conclusion to make it into a 5 paragraph essay, but that's the style, introducing characters, and then there's always a problem. So if you have a narrative essay, like maybe your assignment is to go on a spaceship to Mars, and you have to come up with a story, who you're going to see there, what it's going to be like, what the problem is, stuff like that. Now, down here is argumentative essay. That's more like your opinion, and you see the word argue in there. You're basically going to take a stand on something, and then you're going to defend it with evidence. Like one might be about the penny, the United States penny. Should we keep the penny in circulation? A lot of people believe that we should not keep it anymore because it's basically worthless now. It's just a penny. Nothing, you can't buy anything with pennies anymore. And a lot of people are using credit cards anyway, and it's expensive to make pennies. It's actually more expensive to produce pennies than it is value of the penny itself, which seems silly to do that, but that's a reason not to keep it. But it's historical. It's got Abraham Lincoln on it. It's like a historical piece of our country that some people say, hey, we should keep these because we need them as a historical piece. And then we use them like at the store, you put them in a little bowl, and then people can borrow them to pay their bill or whatever. So that's an example of an argumentative essay. And then again, explanatory is like factual and evidence of real facts. These are the different styles. Today, we're going to practice an informative essay. So you're going to need lined paper first. So go ahead and get out two pieces of lined paper, actually. Start with that because this is going to be like your scratch paper. Okay. You can use this on the test. You can't have anything else with you, only this. So like we did last week, we're going to start by just making a list of our dress ups. What do you remember on your checklist? Go ahead and write that down on your notes for a second. I'll give you a minute. What do you have on your checklist? Try not to look at a checklist to see if you can remember what's on there. And then we'll talk about it. Oh, I got your note, Tyler. It's hard for me to read the chat at the same time as I'm teaching, but it's fine. All right. What are some things on your checklist? Who can remember? You can unmute and tell me. ly adverb.
Which class?
Who, which clause? Good. Kaden?
Because clause and
Good.
www.asia clause.
Good. I like it. Good job.
Strong verb.
Yes, good. I think the last one you're missing is quality adjective. So here's the thing. Put what you can remember on your notes, but if you forget some of them, it's okay. Don't stress over that, okay? You're going to use this like your own homemade checklist, okay? So when you get to the point of writing your paragraphs, you can actually put check marks by these so you can remember to include those in each paragraph, okay? This is your homemade checklist for yourself. You do have a couple openers, so let's skip a line and put some openers here. Do you remember what your openers are? Kaden?
ly opener.
Good. Tyler?
Prepositional.
Good. Christopher, can you think of one of the openers? He's thinking, he's like,
S.
yes, VSS. See, you got it. That's the very short sentence. That's your newest one that we added. Okay, so you're going to use this, put little check marks, not now, but like, well, we're just pretending, but this is how you'll do it. You'll put little check marks by whatever you add to your paragraphs to keep track of what you've already done and making sure you include all of those. Now, don't stress over this. This is just for you to use to improve your score on your writing test. Using these will improve your score. Okay, so you want to do your best on this. You know how to use these. But if you get stuck on like prepositional opener and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't think of any prepositions. I can't remember what is a preposition. Oh my gosh, don't get stuck on that. It's okay. You don't have to use it. Do not put the numbers in front of it or underline it. You don't have to label everything like we do in my class. This is just for the test. So they're going to just want to see the paragraphs. Okay, Tyler?
Oh, I forgot what was good. Oh, yeah. So I struggle with knowing what strong verbs and quality adjectives are. So, like, do you know a way I could remember that? Or...
You don't remember what they actually are?
No, because, like, I don't know, like, you say, like, I'll be using a lot in my writing, but, like, my brain doesn't know, like, what they are. So I'll be looking up lists to see.
Oh, okay. So you do, that's a good point, Tyler. I'm glad you said that because actually we naturally use strong verbs and quality adjectives. And strong verbs are action verbs. That's how I remember it. So not is, was, you know how we label those in our grammar sometimes, and had and has, those are not strong verbs. So your strong verbs are anything that shows action. Okay. So what someone in the subject in the sentence is actually doing. And then a quality adjective is just basically, you remember our band words now, we have good and bad and big. Those are like overused. So you, instead of saying good, you would say fantastic or great or incredible. So those are considered quality adjectives. So anything that's not what you use all the time. Does that make sense, Tyler? Okay, good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Now I want you guys to set up the keyword outline on your second piece of paper because you want to have plenty of space to make this work. So we're going to do Roman numeral 1. We don't know what our topic it is yet, but Roman numeral 1 is going to be your introduction. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And in the margin, you can just put intro because that's your introduction paragraph. Remember, your body paragraphs are in the middle. There's 3 of those. So we're going to set those up. I know this is a lot, but don't pass out on me, okay? We can do this. We were in this together. Everybody's got to do this. We can do this. Roman numeral
Actually, we're
3.
not fully in it together because you don't have to take the test.
Well, but my heart is there with you. How about that? That's true. And that's something you can look forward to. Once you get past school, it's like you don't have to do these tests anymore. So, woohoo! Okay, anyway, I'm not going to brag too much because I know you're still in the middle of it, but Roman numeral 4, 1 through 5. And then Roman numeral 5, I know we're out of space. If you have to use the backside, you can. Roman numeral 5 is also going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put 5 on the back. Okay, I know it's a lot. Don't pass out on me. And then next to the Roman numeral 5, way down here, I want you to put conclusion. You're gonna have to squeeze it in right here, conclusion. So we have the introduction and the conclusion. I'm gonna put them in parentheses here. These are your body paragraphs. When you write a 5-paragraph essay, you start with the body. So just forget about the introduction and conclusion at first. When we're reading the article, we're going to focus on the body part of the paragraphs. Okay, now we are ready to dive into this practice. So you should have a packet that looks like this. This is the first page. You'll see the little icons up here. You will have icons and tools to use on the test. I highly recommend you sitting down with a parent or a grandparent, someone who's available to go through the practice. And I sent your parents a link to the practice test. Find out what the tools are. What can I use to highlight? What does this do? What does that do? You can't mess anything up. I will say that. Even on the actual test, if you don't have time to figure out all the tools, play with it for a minute when you first log in to see what the tools do. Okay, you guys are all pretty tech savvy. You'll be able to figure it out pretty well. This is the direction. So at the top, and all this is digital. We have it on paper today just so we can look at it together during Zoom class, but obviously you're going to be scrolling. This is all digital on the computer. And this is the actual style of essay you're going to write. Animals and their surroundings, informational performance task. This is the big task. You're going to have smaller questions earlier than this, but this is the big assignment. And here it is. Here's your task. Your school's science fair is taking place soon. Your class has decided to focus on doing science projects about animals. You become interested in learning more about where animals live. You have found 3 sources about this topic in the school library. So now you know you're going to write about animals. You know that. Okay, which is cool because you guys have done a lot of writing about animals before, so it should be pretty familiar. And then here is telling you how to set it up. After you've reviewed these sources, you will answer some questions about them. This is part 1. So part 1 is going to be answering questions. Briefly scan the sources and questions that follow, and then go back and read the sources carefully so you have the information you will need to answer the questions and complete your research. You may click on the global notes button. You'll see that button to take notes on the information you find in the sources as you read. You may also use scratch paper to take notes. That's what I recommend. Forget about the global note thing. Take notes on your paper because you can find it. It's right in front of you. You see it there. Use that. Okay. Now, you can scroll back and forth. You can go on to the next question. You can go back. You can skip. You can go all over the place on this test. You cannot mess it up. Okay. So if you get stuck on a question, you want to come back to it later, just skip it. And then it'll tell you at the end, uh-oh, you skipped number 4. Go back and answer number 4. It'll tell you that. Okay. But I want you to feel free to move around in the test, especially on the sources, because that's where they're going to be long for you to scroll through. You can go back and forward and all around. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to erase your answers. It's not going to, kick you off or anything like that. Just so you know, don't be afraid of any of that. You can move around on the test. I want you to skip next to the very back of this packet. Actually, I know some of you don't have it stapled yet. That's okay. It's this page right here. Second to the last page, you see a number midway down, and then you see part 2. That's what I want you to find, is where it says part 2 right here. Not source 2, but part 2. It's on this page. Give me a thumbs up when you found it. Okay. Okay, like I said, so part 1 is the questions, multiple choice. Part 2 is the essay part. So this is your assignment for your essay. This is where you're going to find what you're going to write about for your 5-paragraph essay. So look under part 2. It says you will now review your notes and sources and plan, draft, revise, and edit your writing. You're going to do that on your scratch paper. You may use your notes on your scratch paper and go back to the sources. Now read your assignment and the information about how your writing will be scored and begin your work. See where it says your assignment? That's super important for you to find first when you do the writing test, so you know exactly what they want you to write about. So you'll have to scroll down until you find part 2, your assignment. Okay, that's where the assignment's going to be. It's important for you to know this first. I don't know why they put it at the end, but they did. You had to find it. Okay, this is where you're going to write your paragraph. Your teacher wants each student to write an informational article that will be displayed with your science fair project. You decide to write about animals and where they live. Your article will be read by other students, teachers, and parents. That is your assignment. animals and where they live. Those are the two things that you got to keep in mind as you're reading these articles. What are the animals and where do they live? Okay, and it's just explaining a little bit more here about choosing the most important information. You guys already know how to do that because you do keyword outlines, and that's forcing you to look for interesting and important information. And then it goes into how to grade it, how they grade it. I'm not going to worry about that because that's just going to take up too much time. If you want to read that later, you can, but you don't really need how they're going to grade it. You guys know what to do with your writing. So now that we know what the prompt is, go back to the beginning, that very first page, this one that we were on with the little icons. And you'll see source number 1 here. You have found an article that describes how animals survive in different environments, the places where animals, plants, and animals live. But your prompt says animals and where they live. You might mention some plants, but your paper is not about the plants. It's about the animals. So make sure you understand what the prompt is wanting you to write about. And this one is called It's a Cold, Hot, Dry, Dark, Cruel World. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. You follow along. And then as we come across some animals and their habitats or where they live, we're going to start writing down some keywords on our notes. Okay. It's good to do it as we go. Living creatures survive in all types of environments. Each environment creates different challenges for animals that live there. Some living creatures survive at the bottom of the sea where it is dark as night and very cold. Other plants and animals live in dry, hot environments. People can use tools like flashlights or fans to help them survive. Animals and plants, however, must rely on nature to help them survive. Near the South Pole in Antarctica, it is very cold. It is usually about minus 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so Antarctica is much colder than ice. Scientists live at the South Pole, but they live in buildings with thick walls and heating. What do animals do? Okay, so far they're just setting this up. And they're trying to throw you off by talking about people. But your paper is not about people. Your paper is about animals and where they live. So you're going to just keep reading until you get to something about the animals. Okay, that's the point. Don't get distracted by the other stuff. Some animals have bodies that help them live in the cold. The ice fish, here we go. Here's the first animal mentioned. Lives in water so cold that even in summer, chunks of ice continue to float in the water. How do ice fish keep from freezing? The only way ice fish can survive in this is the next page here. In this extreme environment is because they have a special substance in their blood that keeps ice crystals from forming inside their bodies. Penguins, here's another animal. We're going to read this first, then we'll talk about which one to write about. Penguins have thick layers of fat or blubber to help them stay warm, but sometimes even that is not enough. Often penguins must rely on each other for survival. They cuddle up together, as close as they can to share their body heat. Another area that can be hard to live is the dry, hot desert. People who live in the desert often wear special clothes to protect them from the heat. When they build homes, they have their air conditioners to keep them cool, and to find water, they dig wells that provide water from deep in the ground. How do animals survive in the hot, dry conditions? Many desert animals come out only at night when it's cool. Snakes, lizards, mice, and squirrels live in burrows. During the day, they stay under the ground and out of the sun. So it's mentioning some animals here, but just as a list. It's not giving us a lot of details here. In the hot Sonoran Desert of Arizona, an owl lives in a nest that sits on a tall cactus. The cactus stems store water. Rain doesn't fall often in the Sonoran Desert, but when it does, it falls quickly and heavily. Then the water quickly flows away. The cactus has roots that spread out only inches below the surface of the soil. The roots are like a big sponge soaking up rainwater fast. Now the cactus can store water for months, and the owl has a nice home high up in the cactus. There's a little bit more here. There's a picture. I don't think I'd want to sleep on a cactus, though. I'm just saying, but I guess owls can. And then it's talking about the ocean. So we've talked about Antarctica, we've talked about the desert, and now we're talking about the ocean. There's 3 different types of places to live here. The ocean has very different challenges from those of the desert. The deepest part of the ocean are very dark and cold because the sun's rays are unable to shine through all the layers of the water. Some of the very deepest parts of the ocean have thermal vents on the ocean floor that are like little volcanoes under the sea. The water coming out of the vents is very hot. Crabs survive at the bottom of the sea by scurrying around the vents looking for food. Arctic chill, desert sun, and cold pitch dark ocean. These are difficult conditions that could be hard for people to survive, but nature gives plants and animals the ability to live almost anywhere. Okay, that's the end of that first article. Tyler, did you have something to say?
Yeah, so I waited and I didn't get my answer, but like, why, what animal and what human would build a nest on a cactus?
Yeah, well, obviously the owl does. No human, but the owl does.
Well, why? Because cactus poke.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. They have a way of building a nest that where it doesn't poke them, I guess. That's interesting. So I recommend on this that you take each body paragraph and you focus on each article. Okay, so each body paragraph can go with an article rather than folding it and doing all your ABC and all that, because that gets a little hard to keep track of. Just focus on your Roman numeral 2 will be about this article here that we just read. And you're going to look for key words to put in here about the animals it mentioned. Now, remember, I heard something about Antarctica and, whoops, the ice fish. And then we learned about the penguins, and then we learned about the owls. So you can decide what information you want to put for Roman numeral 2 here. I'm going to start mine, but you guys put what you want to put, okay? I'm going to start by talking about the ice fish, and that is in Antarctica. So I'm going to start number 2, Roman numeral 2. And if you want to copy mine, you can. This is how I'm doing it. We're saving Roman numeral 1 for your introduction, remember? Ice fish. And then maybe one more word about the ice fish. Let me see. They float. Chunks of ice continue to float in the water. Cold. I'm going to put cold. They like the cold water. I'm just going to put water like that symbol. Okay, that's how I'm going to start it off. Now, it mentioned 3 different animals. So what you could do is do a couple of facts about one animal, a couple of facts about another animal, and a couple of facts about third animal, or you can keep the whole thing about ice fish if you want. The point is you need to find an animal and where they live. That's the point, okay? So you can mix it up whatever you read in the article, but I'm talking about ice fish first, okay? What is something else about the ice fish that you thought was interesting? Who would like to share something else on this page at the top? Kaden?
That they have that special ice, or they have that special substance that keeps, or in their blood, that keeps ice crystals from forming inside their bodies.
Yes, and that makes them able to live in Antarctica because it's so cold there. So that's a really good one. We could put, I like that special and then substance. And Could we put blood? Something about,
Or
what do you
we
think?
we could draw a crystal and then put a circle around it, draw an X, and then put the word for.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then blood, we could do a drop maybe or something. Crystal. How do you draw a crystal? It's kind of like jagged, huh? I don't know. Here's my crystal. And it's shining. And I'm going to cross it out. That's my crystal. Form. I don't know. Whatever makes sense to you guys to remember that. And like I said, you're going to have the articles right there on the computer screen. So you can scroll back to that part if you need to remember. Kaden?
I'm doing the penguins first.
Okay, keep going on the penguins then. That's fine. And Tyler?
I just realized that oh so great crystal idea that I had did not go well because now my crystal looks like a tomato head.
Well, I can't even tell you what mine looks like. So I'm with you, okay? But if you forget, go back and look for that in your article. I think that's a good idea to move on from there to penguins. So I'm going to write about penguins next. Penguins, because they're also in Antarctica. I know that. And they have thick layers of flat fat or blubber. I'm going to put thick blubber. That's what that is layers of fat, right? Penguins rely on each other. I'm going to put rely, each other, and cuddle.
Isn't each other two words?
It probably is. Is it? I think you're right. Well, I'm going to put a slash there. But that's a good thing to bring up, though. I'm glad you said that because this is for your notes for you. If you need to put 4 words, I'm not going to come after you because I won't even know about it. It's on the test. Okay. So don't put too many though, because then it looks like you're copying and they won't want you to copy. So if you have to use 4 words, that's okay. You can use 4 words just for the test. Yes, Kaden.
5.
Try not to use 5 because then, like I said, then it looks like you're copying too much.
Four
Try.
and three
Just
quarters?
try. Oh my goodness. You guys crack me up. You get the point. Ay, ay, ay. The other animal that we talk about here, let's see. We're moving on to the desert next. So we can talk about Arizona and the owl. And that's kind of interesting. So that's what I would probably talk about next for number 4. 4 is the Arizona and the owl. I'm going to stop here though, just for the sake of time, because I want to make sure we have plenty of time to get this started. But you might, for your homework, I'm going to have you guys finish working on this. So you'll go back to just that first article. In fact, let's put in the side here, source number 1. That's where you're getting information for this part of your keyword outline. Okay. Let's move on to the next source. I like the idea of continuing on with the owl though, but remember, the main thing to remember for everybody is you're focusing on the animals and where they live. They're going to give you extra information, but you just don't use that in your outline. Okay. Just focus on the animals and where they live. All right. So now the next article is it's weird. It's on the bottom of this page. It starts right here. It's called Animal Architects, but it really starts here on this page. So look for the paper that has this picture on it. That is a picture of a termite mound. Termite mound. It's like the cutaway. So like if you were to cut a mound in half, that's what it would look like. These are not like the termites we have in California. It's pretty crazy. So we'll read about this. At the top of this page, it says everybody needs a home. Homes protect us from weather and keep us safe and comfortable. Animals are no exception. Humans live in a wide variety of structures. Around the world, people have designed and built their homes to suit their particular needs and ways of life. Animals do the same. In addition to making living spaces, people and animals both build other structures, bridges, dams, traps, and storage areas. These structures help people and animals survive. People and animals both use different materials and methods for their constructions. They build with wood, weave with fibers and vines, dig into the earth, and mold out of mud. From sky-high nests to elaborate or fancy tunnels, the amazing works of animal architects or building designers rival those of the greatest human engineers. Let's look at some. So that's kind of an introduction to this. So now we're going to get into the animals. This is what you're focusing on. Beavers, there you go. Beavers build lodges along the banks of the lakes and ponds. Using branches they chewed apart themselves, beavers begin by building a cone-shaped frame. Then they fill the gaps with mud and leaves. The entrance to the lodge is always at the bottom, underwater, so beavers can come and go without being seen by predators. So that would be an example of something you would talk about here for Roman numeral 3. And this is talking about around water. So this would be like lakes and ponds and rivers. But let's finish the article before we start writing down some facts here. In addition to their lodges, beavers build dams. Water builds up behind the dams, creating flooded areas that are ideal places for beavers to find food. The flooded areas also provide pools for other wildlife. Termites build 20-foot high mounds out of dirt and their own saliva. I had to just pause there for a second. Yes, 20 feet. That's like, I don't know, taller than a house. Caden?
If I could talk to termites, I'd ask why.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty elaborate
Just
inside here.
just why are you ruining our lives?
I think
Why?
these termites are not like, I mean, the termites we have in California are like ant size, like queen ant size, right? Well, these termites I think are big. They're bigger than that. They don't live here like that. So I don't know how they build that mound, but anyway, okay, I'm gonna keep going. These giant structures are like small apartment buildings. Besides living areas, these towers have food storage areas, nurseries for baby termites, a special chamber for the king and queen, and even gardens. A chamber is like a room, it says. And here's where it says the inside view of a termite mound. Crazy. Now we're going to talk about another creature here, another animal, wombats. Wombats dig huge underground burrows that can be 100 feet long. Wombat tunnels are elaborate, with many entrances, side tunnels, and resting chambers. Inside the burrow, sleeping nests are built on raised platforms to keep them dry in case of flooding. Often several burrows are connected, creating structures so huge they can actually be seen from space. I'm not sure how that works because I thought it was underground, so I don't know how you can see underground stuff from space. Interesting. I don't know. Keep going. Let's finish this article. It's almost done. Here's a picture of a wombat. That's what they look like. They're kind of cute.
I've been lied to my entire childhood. I thought wombats were those little like lightsaber things.
That's funny, Tyler. They're actual animals.
I know they're actual animals. I've known that.
Okay, good.
I
I
just
was
thought
so
it
worried
was the
about your
perfect
childhood.
time to. I was just thought it was the perfect time to insert that little joke.
That was good.
Because at the fair they'd be selling these like wombat things in
Yeah,
Alaska. Yeah.
that's funny. You cracked me up. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're talking about bald eagles. We know what those are. This is cool. Bald eagles build massive nests 4 to 5 feet across and 3 to 6 feet deep. high in tall trees. They use their beaks and amazingly strong talons or claws to break branches and twigs for nest material. Like beavers, eagles begin by building a stick frame. Then they weave in their smaller branches and twigs for added strength and protection. Finally, eagles line their nests with grasses and other soft materials to make them comfy. Take a look around you. You may find other examples of amazing animal architecture. So let's see, we talked about the beavers, termites, wombats, and bald eagles. So there's quite a few to choose from. This is going to be your source number 2 right here next to that one, which is the one we just read. So we would talk about like where these animals are found. So if you want to start with the beavers, which I think are interesting, they're going to be around lakes and ponds. So I'm going to start by talking about that. Lakes and ponds, beavers. If you want to start with bald eagles, you can start with bald eagles. If you want to talk about the termites, go ahead and talk about the termites. Just pick an animal or the wombat, pick an animal and start talking about where they live, lakes and ponds, where they live and what their living situation is like. So Tyler?
How do you draw like that number thing that easily? Like I can draw it, just takes me a while.
Oh, probably because I used to play tic-tac-toe a lot.
Oh yeah, I play tic-tac-toe too, but I'm not the one that sets it up.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Just
on a little device now.
takes practice. Yeah, it's on the device now. That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point because, everybody's on devices now. So writing is not really popular. And then you're going to write some more about beavers. They use branches, chew them apart. Go ahead and take a minute and write, or whatever animal you picked, but go ahead and fill out a couple of these from source 2 about the animals and some key facts that you find or some interesting facts. I'm going to put build a cone frame fill mud leaves. And then you could talk about another animal. Just put a few for each animal on that.
Are we
Remember,
supposed to do all 5 about the beavers if that's what we
no, so that's what I want you to know. You're gonna do all 5 from source 2. So you don't have to do it all about beavers. You can do like 3 about beavers, and then you can talk about termites and a little bit about wombats if you want, but you're gonna keep it just from that source.
I may not want to talk about wombats if I don't know what they are.
It's up to you. You don't have to. You can talk about the bald eagle.
That fits my new haircut.
Oh yeah, there you go. It looks good. You're so funny. All right. If you didn't get to finish that, that's okay. I'm going to have you guys work on this for homework too. But now we're going to go on to source 3. So go ahead and put source number 3. Give Tyler a minute to do the number sign. Source number 3, right here next to Roman numeral 4. And I'm going to go on because I want to read this one also. Okay. Liana and Christopher, you guys doing good? Following along okay? Good. Okay. Your 3 sources are going to be from the middle. Your introduction and your conclusion are going to include other things, okay? So I'm going to read the source 3. It's down here under the wombat. Source 3. Don't step in that ecosystem. So this is going to be completely different. It's talking about ecosystem, which is interesting. The next time you go out, take a careful look around. Maybe you see a small pond. Plants might be growing in the pond. Birds might be taking baths in it. And if you're lucky, the pond might even be a home to tadpoles. Any place where animals, plants and animals live and interact or work together with non-living things like air, water, and soil is called an ecosystem. The plants and animals in an ecosystem need each other to survive. It is important that there is a balance among all things in the ecosystem. A small change in any part of the ecosystem can have a big effect. For example, if the food that an animal eats can no longer be found, then that animal will either die or have to leave that ecosystem. When the animal is no longer a part of the ecosystem, then the rest of the living and non-living parts of the ecosystem are affected because all parts of the ecosystem depend on each other. All parts of the ecosystem are connected to each other. Think about an oak tree in the forest. It is a home to the bugs and birds that live in its bark and branches, and to the squirrels who make their nests in its trunk. The oak tree also provides food to other animals in the ecosystem. When its acorns are ripe, they fall to the forest floor. These rich nuts, going. This is the page that has part 2 down here, okay? Are good food for the mice and the deer that eat them to fatten up for the winter. Mice save the acorns so that they have food in the winter months. And in the spring, hawks swoop down looking for a mouse meal. In a way, the oak tree helps the hawk find its food. This is an example of how the plants and animals in an ecosystem work together in order to survive. Now think of the ocean. Imagine diving into the deep blue water. Near the surface, you see a rocky ridge of coral called a coral reef. The reef is home to many plants and animals. For example, sea plants move back and forth in the current, and fish come to feed or to hide from other living things that can harm them. Coral reefs, in fact, are home to about 1/4 of all the fish in the sea. Reefs also attract birds, whales, turtles, and seals. The number and many different types of animals that depend on coral reefs make them one of the most important ecosystems in the world. There are many different kinds of ecosystems, and they can be very small, like a pond, or very big, like a coral reef ecosystem. Ecosystems are everywhere. Tyler?
So what are tide pools? Because for a minute I thought you said tide pools, but then I went, wait, tide pools and ponds? That doesn't sound right.
Okay, good question. So tadpoles are like the beginning stages of a frog. I don't know if you've studied that before. So they're like a little fish, but they actually transform as they grow into a frog. I'm serious.
Christopher, what have you gotten in your tacos?
What did he say?
He put in the chat, I've seen tadpoles in my taco.
My gosh. Okay, so anyway, that's what tadpoles are. They're like little fish. And as they grow, they actually grow legs and they turn into a frog. So the ecosystem, that's the main thing about source 3 here. And the ecosystem, if you go back to the beginning of that article, it's basically how plants and animals survive together. So I might put like plants, and then I'll put AN for animals survive. It's how they survive together in unity. Now you don't have to copy that, but if you like that, you can copy that. And what you're going to take here, and we don't have time to do it now, this will be part of your homework, but you'll look at source 3 and start writing down keywords of information that you find about source 3. that relate to animals. It mentions animals and oak trees and things like that. So it's okay to combine a little bit about plants here in this part. Now you have officially finished your articles, and the first step is finishing your body outline. Now we're going to talk about the conclusion next. Tyler?
So this sort of just popped in my head because my mind is spinning right now. But next year, could you maybe give us like a skip homework pass so that when state testing prep comes, I can just use it?
Well, I have emailed your family about that. So
Ooh, skip homework passes?
it's up to them. It's over whoever does your homeschooling, okay?
Oh, that's not gonna happen there.
Because they're the ones in charge, Tyler. But I did say I'm okay with it, just so you know. If you are doing state testing and you're just totally overwhelmed with everything, I'm okay if you skip the homework. But you have to let your parent, grandparent, whoever's doing your homeschooling, they have to decide that. Okay. It's not up to me. I'm just agreeing with whatever they decide. All right. Back to this. Going down to the conclusion. Remember, this is where you restate the three topics. So, like, you're going to make a sentence here for Roman numeral 5, you're going to restate source 1, talking about the animals in Antarctica. And it can be a generic sentence addressing the animals that you talked about in Roman numeral 2. So it could be Antarctica and about penguins and ice fish, because that's what you wrote about here in Roman numeral 2. The next one is going to be the next topic. You talked about beavers and other animals. On that one, I think it talked about the termites and the wombat. So I would put here lakes, forest, beaver, or whatever animal you want to focus on there. In the third one, you're definitely going to mention the ecosystem. Survive together. So do you see that pattern? For the first 3 here, you're gonna copy something from each one of those paragraphs. You're restating it. Because we talked about Antarctica in that first one, and I talked about beavers in the second one. I put forest in here too because I might use that. You want to change it up a little bit. You don't want to copy the same sentence. And then remember when we talked about most significant. Try to remember that if you can on the test. If you don't remember it, that's okay. Most significant and why. What is the most significant thing about everything we read and why? Do you guys have any ideas of what you think is most significant? It could be an animal or it could be the type of place they live. What stood out to you the most about everything that we read? Tyler?
I really don't want to say this, but for me, the most significant or impressive thing that I heard was definitely about the termites.
Okay. That so you would say
Uh,
most significant is, and then put termites, and then you would put why? Because they are able to build a 20-foot mound.
yeah, and the way they build it is
Yeah. And it's like an apartment
interesting.
complex with rooms and all of that. So yeah, you can use that as most significant. And then number 4 is going to be why. Why is it the most significant? You're going to pick something that's most significant and tell why.
Uh, is that a oh? Is that what's a bit on source 3? What is that between plants and survive?
Oh, AN, like AN for animals.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to use another word right there, so I just put,
Yeah, so just to remember what that is, can I just
yeah,
put animals above it?
yeah, you can.
Or
Like I said,
I'll put a word bank
yeah, you
for it.
can do that. Or, like I said, you're not turning this into me. They're going to be your notes for your test. So if you need to write out animals, write out animals. It's okay. Whatever you need to do. And then the introduction, we need to talk about that for a minute too. Remember, the first part of an introduction is the attention getter. Do you guys remember what we use for attention getters sometimes? What's something we use, Tyler?
Baseball is a fun sport.
So,
I know that might be biased, but
but we're not talking about baseball here. So what would be an example of attention getter for this?
it could be like Antarctica is cold,
You're thinking
but
of a VSS. Is that what you're thinking of?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Antarctica is cold, but cute animals live there.
Yeah, except for not your whole paper is about Antarctica, though.
I don't know.
Yeah, it would be, remember, you're writing about animals and where they live. So maybe focus more generically on that. Like, and you could even ask a question if you like that idea. You could say, um, have you ever heard of a wombat? Or do you know where some animals live? Or some kind of a question about animals. So you want to start with an attention getter here.
Or the question could be, do you even know what the animal wombat is?
Yes,
Because apparently I did not know.
exactly. Put in parentheses. We're not going to count this as your keywords. You're still going to write 3 words here for your attention getter. Okay. I'm just putting that note there for you to remember. And then you're going to write a little bit of a background. So go ahead and put background here just to help you remember. That's going to be like animals have always found a way to survive in the wild. Something about the background of animals. They've always known where to go and live, and they have food for themselves, and they know how to take care of themselves. And then you're going to introduce your topics after that. So that's when you're going to talk about topic A, which would be this one for Roman numeral 2. Mention something about Antarctica, mention something about the lakes, mention something about the ecosystem. You're restating topics. So on the side here, restate topics. There. And you have an extra one. By the way, if you guys don't need all 5, just use 3. I'm okay with that. Or 4 if you need to. So no stressing over this. Okay. This is the format that I want you to use on the test. So your homework is going to be now that you read it all, it's all done, finish filling these out. And I do want you to practice writing the 5 paragraphs. I know that's a lot for 1 week, but it's good practice. You don't have grammar or anything else to do. You're going to focus on this only. And if you're taking the test, and I do mean this, and you're taking it this week, let's say you start tomorrow and you're just overwhelmed with the test stuff, you can take a break from my homework. You don't have to do this, but it's up to your parent or grandparent, whoever does your teaching, to decide that. Okay. I will let them know. And
Just
there's
so you guys aren't jealous, that's definitely not happened for me.
you already know. You're like, I'm not even going to
Yeah,
ask.
I'm not even gonna try.
I'm sorry, Tyler. She knows what's best for you. All right, you guys. That's it for today. You guys are going to do great on this. And then next week, we're going to move on to the next part of our binder. We'll get back to the regular stuff next week. But this week, you're just focusing on getting ready for the writing part of the test. Any last minute questions before you guys go? And Liana, let's see. I'm going to see you. Am I going to see you tomorrow? I am going to see you tomorrow. So we'll go over this tomorrow some more if you need to, okay? See if you can work on it in the meantime and get that part done. All right. That's it, you guys. Good job today, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.